How do everybody? I've got a couple of stories here that I think link into each other quite nicely, but are also relevant to recent events and also historical at this point as well. Now, for those of you who've already been a viewer of a couple of my videos, you'll or most likely be aware of my stance on corporal and capital punishment. That I fully support the reintroduction, but I feel I must add as well that it's only for when there is absolutely zero doubt, and this is with the application of both corporal as well as capital punishment, but there is zero doubt and that there is overwhelming evidence in support of the individual having the punishments applied to them being guilty. I do think one of these stories offers a reasonable middle ground, though, between what some might see as capital punishment being too extreme. So the second story on this, I think, does offer a reasonable middle ground. So anyway, on with the main event and why you're actually here. So the first story is the recent event that has shocked not just Europe, but pretty much the entire world. When I was looking for this article before, I was absolutely flabbergasted actually by just how many foreign news agencies were covering this in very, very distant parts of the world at the top of the Google search. So it's quite unusual that you find a story and it is incredibly widely covered so much. So this one in particular has really, really caught the imagination of a lot of people, and rightly so as well, because it's absolutely disgusting. But this being the story of the 13-year-old girl getting forcibly violated by 7 Egyptians. So this happened on January 30th, and it was in a public toilet of the Villa Bellini Park in Catania. This is on the island of Sicily, which, for those of you who don't know, just in case your geography isn't the best, it is, I believe, off the southeast coast of Italy. So if you look at Italy, it looks a bit like a boot, doesn't it? Where the heel comes down at the south, Sicily's that sort of large island just off to the east of it. So east, sorry, I'm absolutely talking out my backside there. Sorry, west. I'm getting absolutely mixed up there. I do apologise. That is me being an absolute idiot in regards to navigational directions. So anyway, back on with the story. So this is but not only was the girl, but she was also with a 17-year-old boyfriend, and they were walking through the park when the gang grabbed the pair and dragged them into a public toilet. But not only did they violate the unfortunate girl, they also subjected the young male to the indignity of being forced to watch the attack happen. All obviously in the knowledge that there was absolutely zero he could do to protect his girlfriend. Obviously with there being 7 of them. Absolutely disgusting. There's no other real words to describe it. But I must also add as well, what this event actually says about how these invaders see themselves, and it's exactly as that. They see themselves, I believe, as a rapacious horde, and that they're here to conquer and subjugate Italy or wherever they see themselves ending up in Europe as a whole. You know, they aren't there obviously to assimilate or to be constructive parts of society. Either that, or maybe they're just doctors in training and they, I guess, thought they were engaging in some sort of impromptu medical treatment. Obviously, that is not what they were doing. But it's just that's how I end up feeling. That's what I end up feeling, saying to these people, you know, say, oh, we need all these doctors and engineers. Like what? What, so they can go around gang raping people in toilets, public toilets? Are you absolutely mad? Is that the price worth paying for? Is they training our own doctors? Bring over tens of thousands of people, and for each doctor we get 7 or 8 gang rapists. Is that really worth it? No, it absolutely isn't. It drives me absolutely mad. It's one of the reasons why I try to read from the script as well, because I end up winding myself up otherwise. But the Deputy PM, Matteo Salvini, has even called for the gang to be chemically castrated, and that the Lega Party, which is I believe the ruling party in Italy, which Matteo Salvini is a member of that party, is now currently proposing a draft bill to bring in chemical castration. Personally, I don't think that goes far enough, but at least it is a step in the right direction in regards to what should be happening with these invading perverts. In a perfect world, I think they'd be lined up against the wall and shot. And if you don't want to spend the money on bullets, then get the gallows out, because at least you can reuse the rope. But now let's move on to Kazakhstan. So in this country, they've already been using chemical castration for several years. But an MP of the ruling party, his name is Elnor Baizanabau, is pushing to have surgical castration added to the books. And that's what I was saying earlier about there being a reasonable middle ground for those people who don't want to necessarily seeing somebody having a short drop with a swift stop. I guess cutting off their parts is a reasonable compromise to make, I guess. So I absolutely love the rhetoric, though, that he's been using as well. And, for example, he says, our government demonstrates its lack of backbone by not approving surgical castration, as if we violate the rights of paedophiles, because paedophiles are human beings. I believe they aren't human beings, he goes on to say. Well said, Elnor. Where are our politicians seeing similar things? Oh, that's right. They're too busy complaining about the fair treatment of illegal migrants in places like the baby Stockholm and on RAF camps, and the human rights of foreign rapists and people who throw things like acid and alkaline chemicals into victims' faces to care about the making the punishment that actually fits and is suitable towards crime. God forbid our politicians would want to put us, the citizenry, first and our safety before the rights of nonces and invaders and terrorists. God forbid we should not think about the rights of the rapists, I guess. Oh, who else would care for the rapists if not for the politicians? My goodness. So it does seem that the woke mind virus is also embedded in places outside of the West, and I felt it was quite unusual at first when I first read it, because I did think it was more of an English-speaking problem and bleeding over into sort of neighbouring nations like Germany and France. But then I did start to wonder if, with Kazakhstan having a history of being a member of the USSR, that being the Soviet Union, for those of you who don't know, and the effects of communism within the country, and a lot of these sorts of human rights ideas do actually have the history in communism and the roots in Marxism. And it's the same with terms like racism as well, that actually, as it was originally coined by, I believe it was Joseph Stalin, or at least Joseph Stalin laid claim to creating the phrase racism. And it was specifically designed to undermine the West, by the way. That was the whole point of inventing the term racism. And then there's various other terms like that which the Soviets invented in order to undermine the West. Same with the actual term gender. That was created by a paedophile gender studies professor. He was French. I think it was Foucault who came up with the term gender. And that was designed purely to obfuscate the lines between the sexes, really, and to try and create confusion. And he was actually proposing to lower the age of consent down to like 13, I think it was, or 12. A proper full-on nonce, by the way. And you do see a lot of adherences of woke ideology absolutely fawning over Foucault, or people like Kimberly Crenshaw who have refined his ideas to try and make them more acceptable to the 21st century. Just terrible, terrible people and terrible, terrible ideas. And really, a lot of the world's current problems that we have do definitely have their roots in communism, and Marxism. Basically the same thing. And the offshoots ideologies that come from communism. Just really, really terrible, terrible ideas. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. This video's gone on for quite enough now, around 10 minutes. I'll put links to both of those articles below, so if you want to read the full articles yourself, please do check it all out yourself. Very interesting stuff. Absolutely shocking as well, though, that first story in Egypt. Terrible. Personally, like I say, I'd have them shot myself, if found guilty, obviously. But anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. If you found that insightful, or I've given you something to think about, please like, subscribe, put a comment below. I do like to read people's comments, even if you don't agree with me, and I do try to always message people back as well. So thank you and good night.